Welcome to the Mwafreeka podcast episode 3, and the previous episode was a little bit controversial, so I had to keep it light this time. So I have Dennis Bundi. Dennis Bundi is a former engineering director at Google. So I want us to talk about technology, and maybe the first thing we have to ask him is, was he a DEI hire?
DEI.
Yeah. Were you a DEI hire, or
Right. Oh, no.
you actually earned it?
Right.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Mwaf. No, I was not a DEI hire. I guess DEI came about in a way that made sense.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind it, again, in theory, was something that was going to play into the equity conversation, right?
Yeah.
But that has changed, and there's a lot of politics that, of course, have been mixed in. And that has made it to be this kind of political kind of football,
Yeah.
right? And so DEI basically means diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
All the three words in that just sounds good, right?
Yes,
It's about fairness, it's about inclusion, everybody participates. And that was basically mostly in corporate America, right? Or at least in the economy.
Yeah.
But I guess the corporate class just kind of took that and ran with it. So they were basically these programs, and honestly mostly run by people of the white position or Caucasians in the offices. So you sometimes would find a token maybe black person who is running the program, but the idea again became abused, just like anything, right? I wasn't pro or against it,
Yeah.
but at the beginning I felt like it's a good concept, right? There are other concepts like those in college admissions. Again, equity is a good thing, but now again, it's not as popular. As you know, Trump is and his administration are really going and disassembling it, and but the big thing is no, I'm not a DI hire.
Yeah.
Sure.
And why do you think a lot of people think that it's black people who benefited from it the most? Because from the stats, I think I was checking out a Yahoo article,
Right.
and they were saying the biggest beneficiaries of DEI were white women, but
Sure.
black people are the face of DEI.
The face of DEI.
Why do you think that
Good
is?
question. In America, most things are looked at as black and white, if I can be able to kind of like boil it down to that. So when you hear equity and inclusion, even diversity,
Yeah.
it's always about, okay, black people are on the other side of that equation and white people on the other side. But, America is a melting pot, right?
Yes.
There's just a lot of gray areas. There's brown people, there's yellow people, there's all of this. But it's all people of America, right? And there are also mixed people in there as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a spectrum. So just to answer your question on this, it's I forget the question. The question was how
Black people ended up being the face
the
of
face of
DEI.
it. That-
Even for
yes.
us, like as black people in Kenya, you'll find people who, when they hear about DEI, they're like, yeah, they must be hiring unqualified black people.
Yeah. But that's how it's just been framed. I think, like, again, anything that becomes a political football, people start putting their own decorations on the idea from the left, which is, again, the Democrats or at least people of that persuasion, and from the conservative side. So it's been dirtied. It's now a dirty word. It's not diversity, equity, and inclusion anymore. It's just something else. And again, it's being dismantled because it represents that as well. But DEI, there's something you mentioned earlier, again, your question is coming back, where the white, maybe women, are more of the beneficiaries of it.
Yes.
Again, when it came in, people really kind of had the intention of it's going to help minorities.
Yes.
But then the definition of minority was expanded.
Yeah.
Just like, again, some of these things kind of evolved to. So the woman became a minority.
Yeah.
And of course, them having some of these women having the kind of the access that they could have as white people, there was more of them who got that in through their programs, whatever incentives that were put in place. And I'm sure some black people also benefit from it, but it's not in that black people don't have the merit.
Yes.
Right? There's one of the most educated group of people in America are black women.
Yeah.
Right? They have more PhDs per capita than maybe most of the population. So they're actually overqualified in some of the roles that they occupy now. So I don't see it as something that benefited them, or maybe it might open the door slightly wider, right? But again, the abuse came through and it's really not been useful. I've been in organizations that had an aspect of DEI. I did not see it as anything that even affected the interviews, really.
Yes.
Right? Somebody comes in, they're qualified, they have, by merit, they get hired.
Okay, because when you talked about like black women being some of the most educated,
yes,
it reminded me of the debate that I was checking out. There was this debate about the White House press secretary.
Right.
So you have the new one versus the previous one.
Right.
So the new one is Caroline Levitt. Yes.
So
she's the one who's working under Trump. And then under Biden, there was Karine Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, so Jean-Pierre apparently has a degree, has this.
Yeah, she's a very smart girl.
This other one is not as qualified. So
Yes.
it's so interesting to see conservatives argue it out. So conservatives were like, yeah, she has the papers, but this other one has a higher IQ. You know that IQ thing that they like bringing
It's called
up?
a dog whistle.
Yeah.
You just say something with a loaded statement, a hidden meaning.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if you start like having a degree off, right? My degree is better than yours. I'm an engineer. Oh, I'm an accountant. It really goes nowhere. I think they are both capable. I mean, they got the job.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where they're looking for just a reason to bicker.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Jean-Pierre, at least she's very well spoken. She's been in politics. I've seen her on CNN for years and years.
Yeah.
Right? She's somebody who can be able to carry a conversation, carry a topic, do an analysis, and probably one of the most qualified person for that role, right?
Yes, yeah.
And this other lady, I don't really kind of follow.
Yeah, I want to see like her academic background. So this for Jean-Pierre. So she earned a Master of Public Affairs from the School of International and Public Affairs at Columbia University.
That's a good school.
Where she served in student government and decided to pursue politics. So she she earned a bachelor's degree from the New York Institute of Technology in 1997. So that's her. Then we have Levitt. I don't want to know what Levitt has, because I remember that came up and people are saying that her biggest qualification was she's, I think, in her 20s and she's married to a 60-year-old dude. Yeah. So
I knew I was going to get there.
They were asking what if the black woman was the one who was married to...
Right.
Yes.
What if the credentials switched places?
Yes.
Right?
Like people would really
definitely. I mean, if you play that game, it'll be
Yeah.
clear, and I'll tell you this, that she would not even be considered. I think, but again, you could do all of this and still be qualified, I think, right?
Yes.
If this lady is able to even raise this kind of vitriol, then maybe she's able to communicate. Maybe they don't like her delivery.
Yes.
And again, at the end of the day, President Trump, he's the president.
Yeah.
He can choose Melania to do it, right?
But she also graduated. So she graduated in 2019 with a bachelor degrees in communications and politics.
She's pretty
the
young.
first in her immediate family to earn a college degree. Oh, so she was the first.
Right.
Yeah, but there was that debate on the black woman versus the... Yeah, so people assume
It's a thought experiment.
Yes, and people always assume that it's black people who benefit from these things.
Right.
And I feel like this is also one of the reasons why the relationship between black Americans and Africans is ish. What are your thoughts on that?
That has been a thing since forever, right?
Mm.
My best friend through school most of them actually were African Americans,
Yeah.
right? I've never had anybody in the black family who was mean or ill will towards me. I've lived there long enough to where I have relatives, at least, you know, my cousin here or my friend here is married to an African American girl, and their kids now, they're my nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where there's enough of a cultural shift that we still have some misunderstanding. It's almost like a family squabble,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But most African Kenyans that I know in America are, most of their friends are African Americans. Well, you know, like I mentioned, some of them are married to African Americans.
Yes.
And then there's also a thing of like you see yourself in them and they see themselves in you, maybe because of those differences again. But I don't see it as a thing. I think I heard this issue way back. I mean, I'm going to date myself here, maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
This was still a conversation like, oh, y'all don't like us, right? No, you know, literally I see my uncles in you. I see my siblings in you. Again, I've literally, majority of my friends, African Americans, even today.
Okay.
You know, they're sharp. People who have a lot of lived experience where you can be able to learn from, and it's just brilliant. You know, my best friend, we were at Rice University together, and she was one of the top students. And this is a lady, by the way, who was doing her master's in basically engineering, a very mechanical engineering, but a very advanced version of it. And in the African organizations, we all came together, right? Not everybody showed up, but we all came together. They would try our foods, and we could share things. And you know, Thanksgiving, most of my invitations over my time I've been there were to kind of black families, and it's just a beautiful environment because you see bits of Africa in there.
Yeah.
And you see how it's been modified, and it's just a warmth being in a black space as well, especially if you're black as well. These are the only kind of attachments you have. So I don't see it as an issue. The people who bring it up, maybe they've not had a chance to interact with Africans. They just see it from a distance. Maybe they hear something and they're like, oh, I knew it. You know, they don't like us. Right?
Yeah.
But look at Kendrick Lamar right now. He's basically embodying, to me, a very African spirit of speaking out, right? Of, again, art beyond the fluff, right? I think that's a very African thing. But for me, I love my African American brothers and sisters. You know, I've never seen anything negative from that relationship in my time.
Okay. Because for me personally, I always say like African Americans gave me a radio career because growing up I loved hip hop. So when you love hip hop, so we started doing it, but now in Sheng.
Right.
So because I was doing it in Sheng, I ended up getting a radio show, and on that radio show, I'd play American hip hop.
You're a DJ.
Kenyan hip hop. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So you see, with that, so you literally gave me a job. You also made me look at the world from a different perspective.
Right.
I always say that I used to enjoy reggae music, and reggae music is more of we.
Yes.
But hip hop is I.
Right.
So with that, I was like, yes, I love the we thing, but sometimes I just want to be I want to be my
individual. Yes.
Yeah, be an individual. So they gave me that. So eventually, when you come online and you hear, oh, they don't love us, oh, they like, what do you mean? Like, you've influenced also like the role that Black America has played in world pop culture.
Right.
You know, the way we dress, the way we, you know, a lot of stuff that we do, we do it in the way that they do it.
100%.
I think the maybe major difference would be when you're in America, of course you live there, you'll give me my opinion on this, but when you're in America, you believe America is the end of the world.
Right.
That's why NBA world champions,
World champions,
NFL world champions,
baseball,
NHL
world baseball champions.
yeah, like I've even had them argue that Super Bowl is bigger than the World Cup, and you're like, are you stupid?
No, it's not.
So with that view of the world, you don't see beyond your struggle.
That's true. That's a very good point, Marv. It is that limited view. And also, there is an aspect of, over time, America sold Africa to African Americans as the jungle.
Yes.
As the place to be ashamed from, right?
Yes.
It's like, okay, if you go back to Africa, it's almost like a threat, right?
Yeah, I know.
Because they painted this thing as hell, and you being sent back and all this stuff kind of plays into that. But it is more marketing, and America is very good at marketing. They can market themselves as the greatest country in the world, and to in many ways it is. It's a very innovative country. I have benefited from the education there, but it's still another country. It actually has more challenges than most people would be open to kind of admit. But just the same as here, Kenya is also a land of dreams, right?
Yes.
They dream a little bit harder. The economy is not maybe as big, I was actually reading somewhere the other day, and this is a fact, that Texas has an economy that is about 98% of the economy of all of Africa, right? So there's that's the vast difference about this country. And again, if you've been told that America is great, it's the only place for opportunity. And every picture you see of outside, even Asia, right? If you look at pictures of North Korea, I'm sure North Korea is a decent country in infrastructure, maybe at least in the city. But do they show that? No. They'll show basically starving people. That's the full picture you get of Somalia, right? Things like kind of Black Hawk Down, which, by the way, look into it. The movie Black Hawk Down, that was more of a propaganda movie. It's just, people come in from the government. I'm not sure about this. I read it from somewhere. And they basically create a narrative. But these are the narratives, again, that basically are stuck in America. So African Americans might be afraid of Africa and Africans by extension. But in the age we're living in, if you see some of these people they call passport bros, right, who are coming here, they're not really passport bros in my eyes. I think there are people who've discovered, like, oh my God, there's actually a home that we can be able to go stay. We are welcome, and people look like us. You are not taken out. People are kind. These traditions and all this other stuff. And for them, I think they are revealing the relationship that could be, the natural relationship that actually is in the air, that has not been captured. But again, I think I went too much into that. But
no, you didn't.
Yeah, I believe that African Americans of sound thinking and sound judgment would be just best friend with any African. And a lot are. The people who live here are, I see a lot of, I'm friends with a few of them. They just want to live here. They're like, oh, this is my home now, right? I can always go back to America like I can, as I'm a citizen of America, but I'm also a citizen of Kenya. So you can go back and forth. But where do you really feel home? Here. Even for African Americans who come here, it changes their psyche. Completely, their life changes in discovering that, oh, I have an option B.
They don't have to be on guard.
Yes.
If you're stopped by the police,
right.
You don't have to put your hands on the steering wheel.
All of that.
So there's that. And because when we were talking about that, go back to Africa and the way it's used as a threat, it reminded me of, there's a certain rapper. I don't know if you listen to rap music.
I've been a rap music aficionado since the 90s. Since Tupac.
So Master Ace has this line. Black boy, turn that shit down. You know that America don't want to hear the sound of the bass drum ball, of the bass drum, jungle music, go back to Africa.
I think that's one of the, is that an old rapper?
Yes, Master Ace, old rapper. This song came out, I think, in 88 or something.
88.
Born to Roll.
Right, long time ago. That's original hip-hop right there, at least those are the OGs.
Yeah.
But that actually speaks to it. If I understand it well, it's speaking to
Oh, but
what
was 95. Oh, my bad,
95.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
still.
Yeah,
That's a long time ago. I was in primary school.
Yeah.
So I think that was the branding that I think mainstream media at that time, which was actually kind of run by a few groups,
Yeah.
branded hip hop at that time. From what I understand, the boom music, the booming kind of sound, that is a hip hop sound.
Yeah.
That is the beat, right? And somebody basically brands it as jungle music.
Yeah.
Now, jungle music, that again alludes to Africanness, right?
Yeah.
You know, we are basically just dying Africans. I mean, most of the pictures that really kind of were pushed in the TV era of Africa is, you know, the Ethiopian famine, right? The Somali conflict, flies and kids dying. There are people who are recording kids dying and not even doing enough, I think, to help them. They're like, oh, I got a shot.
Yeah.
You know, content.
The famous picture of a vulture next to
a starving kid. Yes.
Yeah. I had something to the effect that journalist offed himself.
I think I read somewhere something like that.
Himself.
Right.
Yeah.
But I bet, and this was before social media, but I bet people wrote him to tell him, what kind of human are you that you're doing this? You know, from what I read also, I think he did something, but the optics, because, you know, you're behind the camera, of you actually recording that, and maybe this kid passed or died, I'm not sure. But anyway, those were the pictures. Those were the pictures. So imagine being African American, being poor, being in the projects, you know, raised in an economically disadvantaged kind of situation. And then there's these pictures of Africa. I mean, I'm trying to paint a picture here.
Yeah,
you can see how they can be able to dissociate from that image, right? And by Africans are in America now. The African Americans, at least every African American I know, has interacted with an African either by chance or in some form. I think maybe we don't have that opportunity to sit down and say, like, this is who we are really. You know, if you show somebody a picture of Nairobi, a skyline of Nairobi, they'd be surprised. Or an African American, they'd be like, oh, there are cities out there. They got buildings, got Airbnbs, they got Uber, right? Things like that. So I think it's a misunderstanding. I'll boil it down to that.
Because when talking of the jungle, it made me ask myself, when a white person loves an African, they say they have the jungle fever. Jungle
fever.
Yeah.
That comes from old movies. Jungle fever is a love of...
So the question has to be, if a white person loves an Asian, do they say they have the yellow fever? Because even that whole idea of calling the Japanese and the Chinese yellow, it just shows you how ridiculous racism is.
Very ridiculous.
Yes, racism is so ridiculous that the actual brown people are black people.
Right.
You know, we are the ones who are brown.
We're brown.
Latinos and such are literally basically white. Their skin is very, you know.
The darker hues to them. But mostly, yes. And most Latinos, by the way, are not fully Latino. There's the colonial aspect of it. Some of them are Spanish. One of my good friends was Mexican, was, you know, lighter than most white people because of that heritage. So these colors were basically just buckets, as we call them, or categories, trying to, it's really divide and conquer, and race as a thing, and I don't want to get too much into that, is basically a construct to appease maybe poor whites.
Yes, make them feel above.
Like at least you're not that.
Yes.
So that also protected a certain class of a rebellion. These people coming together, like, you know what, this is not fair. But now with that separation, it basically worked. It's still working today.
Yeah, it's still working. Because I think, like, one of the saddest things about racism is it's led to a lot of inferiority complex amongst Africans.
100%.
Yes, like amongst Africans. Like, you'll find yourself, like, if one of your white friends was to follow you to a restaurant, and the bill is coming, like, it's two grown-up men, they'll
like
give
a
the
social
white
experiment
guy.
kind of deal.
Yes, they'll give the white guy the bill. 'Cause they're
Right.
like, this black
Right.
guy must be leeching off this white man.
Right.
You know, so there's that.
But that's a global thing as well. If you go to
Mm.
Asia, there's a little bit of, and I'm not saying every place in Asia.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not trying to slander anybody.
Mm.
There is a sense of white worship again that also comes from movies.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
A lot of conditioning about
And
it.
the white image of Christ.
The white image of Christ and all
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And that's actually a big one as well. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And so we can talk about that all night.
Mm.
But that's really kind of some of the conditionings out here. And by the way, these things don't just go away.
Yeah.
They're passed down,
Mm.
right? It gets better, but they're passed down. And religion was also a colonial tool, and so there is a little bit of that still remaining. And there are things you don't question. Again, here's a line:
Yeah.
you cannot question this. You can be able, maybe the debate ends here, which is
Yeah.
a limiting kind of school of thought. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because even like if we were to go back to DEI for a second, so you remember there was the plane crash that happened in Washington.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and I remember like when I talked about it on Ikonene, I was like, the first thing that I didn't want it to be a black pilot. You know, because if it's a black pilot, it's going to be he was unqualified. They just gave him a plane because he's black, blah blah blah.
Right.
So when I found out that it was not a black person, the next thing that I find out is it was a white lady. And now people have turned it in. She was not qualified. This is part of that DEI nonsense. And you're like, no, it's not about. Most probably she was qualified, you know,
Right.
but I don't think flying military planes next to a commercial airport is a good idea. I just feel like, you know, like we always look at the first world and we think they have everything figured out.
Right.
But if you're going on a training run, because she was doing a training run, yes, don't do it next to a commercial airport.
So what you're saying here is this can be attributed to basically normal incompetence.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Just woman,
Nothing to do with
man,
DI.
you
Yeah.
can be able to make a mistake or miss the checklist.
Yeah.
And make a training run maybe without doing all the checks and all this. But yeah, that's how I look at everything, right? And probably this was a mechanical problem,
Yeah.
which will come down to maybe some black or white engineer
Yeah.
who made a mistake.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of people have died over the Boeing from Seattle, Washington.
yeah. Boeing,
So
yes.
this is something that is very present in the town, that Boeing, which is the biggest maker of this planes, the product, they have been having engineering problems for years, right? We've had crashes in Asia, Ethiopian Airlines as well.
Yeah.
Everything crashed because of that. So if you really kind of get the politics out of the way, you'll find to like, oh, it's a specific thing here. I bet you most of the media is not going to cover what really the report found exactly what is an issue. But in this case here, it was a mid-air collision, I believe, right?
Mid-air collision.
And that has to do with basically not communication errors.
Even like you saw the one that happened, I think last week, where the Delta flight, the one that was upside down at in Toronto, Canada. You saw that one?
I missed that one.
Yeah. So there's a plane that ended up upside down. Also had I think
While
people saying
landing?
an all female crew. I don't know what happened with it, but it ended up upside down. Yes. And people are still blaming DEI on this, and this is the reason why.
When you look, there's this saying that I love. Somebody, I'm not sure what to attribute it to, that when you have a hammer, all you see is nails.
Yes.
Right? I think DEI, because now it is a buzzy subject,
Yeah.
they are trying to kind of associate it with anything. So
Yeah. It was a Delta flight. So the Delta flight, the plane ended up upside down. I see right now they are offering people $30,000, and
Wow.
I don't know if it's per passenger.
it's really upside down. Wow. How did this happen?
Makes you wish you are one of the survivors. Give me 30,000 after surviving.
30,000, you know,
That's a lot of money.
You do a little physical therapy, because this looked like a serious flip.
Yeah, but it seems the flip was more about the snow on the runway than anything to do with gender.
But to flip over, that's interesting. This is an interesting.
I've not actually checked like what happened, but now people have turned it into a gender thing.
I know it's. I doubt it. I would actually be more comfortable flying with a woman captain or pilot than anything. Now, I don't say that I prefer women to men pilots, but I can see that to see a woman in that uniform and actually flying a major airline, they probably earned it. Right? They probably earned it. And there are many, many, many great women pilots, right? I don't have any data that pushes back against their safety record. But anybody can have an accident. Most accidents happening in Nairobi, it's probably men, right?
Probably.
It's probably men. So you can always point at something if it's going to help you make your political point.
Something very interesting. We normally say that women can't drive, but most accidents on Kenyan roads are men. So I think it's very easy to look at things in just a weird way. And then there was this wave of masculinity that sprang up on the internet worldwide. So in America, you had the Andrew Tates. So with those, they made you feel like the woman, especially a professional woman, a woman who's a professional, like they're not good enough. They're supposed to be in the kitchen, that nonsense. And it's 2025. Like you need to
absolutely. I mean, we have nieces, daughters, mothers, sisters who are so capable. People forget and they disconnect that. And if you ask somebody like, your mom is now qualified. It's like, what? My mom is very qualified. So you kind of have to take that. They say take that energy into the world and be able to look at people just on their merit. Right? Most of the smartest people that I know in my circles are ladies. That's the honest truth. Guys, sometimes maybe we lean too much onto the privilege of being in a patriarchal situation. Right? And but no, me, I'm very pro ladies. In fact, in my businesses that I'm involved here in Nairobi, my wife and I, we agree on making it more women-centric. I think there's just so much potential there. Nobody's tapping into it because that kind of thinking. But me, I find ladies in any role to be more exceptional, honestly, more often than not.
And it's interesting how, as men, we are able to separate our mothers from the negative perception that we have of women. Because when I look at my family, I always give the example of my dad struggled with alcoholism, so my mom had to step up. And she stepped up and made sure all her kids went to school. My dad battled these demons. So I know so many Kenyans with similar stories.
I mean, we are here where we are because of our mothers, right? They made things happen. School, education-wise, they made the push. I think we have a similar background, and again, I'm sorry to hear about that kind of experience, but it's a common experience also in Kenya in a way, right? Maybe not now, but in our kind of generation, it's more of that kind of things lean that way. But at the same time, it's mothers are really kind of responsible for this very educated base in Kenya, right? There's always a mother in the picture, making it happen, making sure that it's just done well. And fathers contribute as well, there are very good fathers out there as well.
Because even like talking of fathers contributing, there's also like this notion, and as I said, it came from this, there was this masculinity wave, the Red Pill movement. When the Red Pill movement showed up, they told single mothers that they're not good enough. But we always forget a single mother did not become a single mother by herself. No. There was a man who left that role. You don't have to marry the girl, but at least be a dad.
Take responsibility for your offspring, right?
So we can then turn around and be like, oh, these single women, they've done this. The guy also has to take responsibility.
100%.
Like,
I agree.
You have to, but these negative perceptions. So people have come up with.
It's part of the trend, and I think it's the last 10 years, maybe 5 years, not 5, maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Tate became a thing in the mid 2010s.
Yes.
And there was this wave, and there was there was just a lot of became a whole industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Fresh and fit.
But yeah, that's going to, I think it's going to pass. We are in a generation right now.
It's passing.
Where ladies are doing great things. Great things.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about crypto.
Right.
So one of the headlines this past week was 1.5 billion was stolen from a crypto exchange company called Bybit. And
that's USD.
Yes, 1.5 billion USD. Yes. Worth of crypto, mostly Ethereum.
Ethereum is one of the variants.
Yes.
Variants of crypto options out there.
But this makes me ask myself, how safe is crypto? Because I'd rather have a sack full of cash under the bed as it depreciates than have something that I'm a password away from poverty.
Skinny. You can also lose your password to M-Pesa, right?
But M-Pesa won't have my life savings. M-Pesa won't have $1 million.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I can say that for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a lot of money. Yeah. That's a big heist. 1.5 billion times 127. Just about. It's a lot of money. Any billion is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But how safe is it? So the underlying technology for all of this Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, all the other variations of it is the blockchain. The blockchain is more or less a database application. It's just some kind of decentralized database. And that's the big idea around all of this. And over time, I think it came about around 2008, 2009 during the financial crash. This became as almost an answer to a few people running the world of money, right?
Yes.
And somebody who is anonymous still came up with, I don't think he's the one who invented the idea of blockchain, but his implementation was pretty groundbreaking. So
who's this, Satoshi or something?
Satoshi Nakamoto, I believe. Right. But that's an alias. Right. It's a nickname I came up with, and is amazingly, this is something I never expected, that for all that time he's not really been pinned down. There've been speculations. It's this one is that, but it's just been quite anonymous in that sense. But blockchain is really kind of that technology. It's not perfect, but there's also various applications of it. With blockchain, you can use it to decentralize. There are people who have actually been asking Elon Musk about making the next version of Twitter, or at least an updated version of Twitter that runs on the blockchain.
Okay.
Right. So blockchain has applications even in social media or software and things like that.
Could you explain blockchain to like a layman, like someone like me who does not understand? Like, what's the simplest way to explain blockchain? Because allegedly it's more secure, but if it's more secure, why do people lose all their life savings?
So security, it's just, there's different angles to look at security. But blockchain, think of it. I don't have a good metaphor today. I wish I had really kind of thought of this a little bit, but I would think of it as a post office without the poster.
Okay.
Right? And also the security element to it is when you send this letter or when you send this piece of data, which could be a Bitcoin or it could be a message.
Yes.
That the way it's verified, it's almost like having every computer has a record of that. So if I try to change this one, it's not going to allow, or it's going to check
with
on,
others.
yeah. So that peer-to-peer verification system is a self-policing mechanism.
Okay.
Right? So Bitcoin is built on that element of there's no central government, there's no central entity that is going to fudge the numbers, right? Change and all this, and then it makes it anonymous in that sense. So your wallet does not have to connect to your physical ID or your physical self.
Yeah.
So that makes it pretty anonymous. So to answer your question, how secure it is, I think it's quite secure, and the idea of it is very, very secure. But it's still going through these iterations of how secure can it be, because again, we're talking about human mind as well.
Yes.
We're always going to find a way to hack it, and I think most of these hacks, like this one here, will have nothing to do with the blockchain itself. It's the wall around the blockchain.
Okay.
You got to have an IT system to kind of protect it. And I think they came in through things like social engineering. I'm talking about, like, hey, gari yako iko flat, blah, blah, blah. Just something to manipulate the person and get information out of them, right? So I was reading a little bit about that. I didn't go too much into it.
Yeah.
But they were talking about it was a security system. Just think of it as a firewall.
Yeah, like I can read it for you so that you explain it.
Yeah.
So it was understanding the Bybit exploit. Bybit's breach resulting in over 1.4 billion in losses was attributed to a sophisticated exploit manipulating call data and swapping SAFE's implementation for a backdoored version. CS pointed out that the North Korea Lazarus group, responsible for major exchange hacks, executed the attack by manipulating the front-end interface to display a legitimate transaction while signing a different malicious transaction behind the scenes. Yes.
Wow.
So whatever you are seeing on the screen
is
not what was happening in the background.
That is interesting. This happens with banks as well. Sometimes you'll get a link, and if you're not savvy enough, you click on that link, it takes you to your bank interface that looks exactly like your bank interface, and you can do a transaction when in the back they're just basically routing it elsewhere.
Yes.
So that's literally what happened, and so it's just basically having access to this transaction. It's again, it's not an easy exploit to kind of pull off.
Yeah.
But they did, and that's a lot of coin.
Yeah, that was and so what do you feel about as we finish off on crypto? What do you feel about crypto? Is it something that you'd advise someone to invest in? Because on a personal level, I think it's more of I don't know how to buy and how to go about it, because I know there's Binance, I know there's all this stuff.
Yes. There are many apps you can buy from as well.
Yes, but it's something that I've been thinking about in the way that Kenyans think about land.
Land, yes.
See, where we are very speculative on land.
Right.
So I always feel like Bitcoin, there are 21 million
Bitcoins, yes.
There'll never be 21 million and one Bitcoin. That means that Bitcoin can only go up as long as it exists.
Yes.
As long as it exists, the value can only go up.
Right.
It's going to have the dips,
Right.
but I feel like it's always going to be bullish.
Right.
So this would be the place to maybe risk and try and see if someone can get 0.1 Bitcoin and just hold it for the kids or the grandkid.
That's actually, look, it's one of the investments that you can consider in your portfolio.
Yeah.
It's been around long enough people have made money, people have lost money as well.
Yeah.
You cannot really advise somebody to go for that versus another. But the idea about Bitcoin that has made it popular, that it represents like a digital gold.
Yes.
Something that will hold value and appreciate.
Yes.
And again, that also comes with the risk of dips as well. But I got into Bitcoin very early. I think I bought my first Bitcoin when it was about $200.
Yeah.
And I bought a few, maybe about 3 Bitcoin.
Yes.
And over time, I think I had sold about half of that before I made any kind of significant gains.
Yeah.
I think when it got to 1,000, I was like,
Ooh, this is
right?
too good.
It's already paid off.
Yeah.
Right? And at that time, you're not really thinking long. But like any investment, if you think long, let's say you buy that amount of Bitcoin that you're buying, and you say, I'm not going to touch it for the next 15, 20 years, you're definitely going to benefit from that, right? But now it's not 200 anymore. Now it's in, I don't know, 20,000. I'm not sure what's the latest.
Value of Bitcoin?
Yes.
Oh, it's over 100,000.
Oh, it's 100,000 now.
Yeah. Man, you sold at 1,000. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. But I'm not regretting it because at that time, we're very early. I'm talking about 2012, 13.
Yeah. Right now, Bitcoin is, by the time we're shooting this, it's at 95,865.
95,000.
So it's being predicted to be $1 million shillings, like in the next 10 years.
$1 million shillings.
I know $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah, like
I can see that happening.
In the next 10 years.
I can see that happening.
Very few investments can grow tenfold in 10 years.
Yeah.
So like personally, what I told myself is if it can dip to 60,000, I want to invest 0.1. Just have 0.1 Bitcoin, but treat it as lost money. Understand?
Yes.
Like if this comes back, good.
All right,
if
right.
Goes,
that's any investment,
cry,
really. Yes.
Yes, let me cry. But if it works out, then my kid and the grandkid are sorted. You know, even starting life with $100,000 is not a bad thing.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yes. Especially in a third world country.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's something to consider, but don't put all your money in one basket.
Yeah, I can't
Land
do
is also a good investment if you get into it.
Gold
as well. I don't know about how that works in this market, but I would consider it. But again, study it. Make sure that you don't get into this kind of speculative, fast expectations.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you put money in it, just know it might never come back.
So
you just deal with that
you
reality.
Wait. Right. You wait long enough, 15 years.
Dip. Yeah.
Right. Even if it dips in 15 years, you've already made the gains together. But that's any other investment. But you can be able to buy that along with also American stocks if you can be able to get into that.
Yeah.
There's an app called, what's the popular app? What am I forgetting? Robinhood.
Yeah.
Robinhood also.
I think Robinhood is only American. Like, we can't buy.
Really?
Yeah. I tried to use Robinhood. There's also that other wallet. Is it called
Coinbase.
Yes, Coinbase.
Coinbase is based in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think unless they've...
Look, you can find ways around it, I think.
Yeah.
But there's also other alternatives, I'm sure. But you got to get with something that is credible. If you're going to park your money for 15 years, the risk is actually not even losing the value. It's actually the company going under, and somehow you lose your savings like that. But it's just one of the options. I would diversify enough. It will be like one of the small ones, but just in the back shelf.
Because at the end, I look at it is, if you buy a car right now for $5,000, yes, that car can only depreciate.
Yes.
That car, let's say you have, it's not, the cover is not comprehensive.
Right.
If it's involved in an accident, that's money lost.
Yes.
If you hit a boda guy and the mob shows up, destroys the car, that's money lost.
That's lost.
So if there's a way you can just invest that and just assume, you know what, anything happens, I'm good with it.
Yes.
So you don't take everything and put it in it, but you're like, since the returns on this, you know, they say that the bigger the risk, the more the, you know, fortune favors the bold.
Right.
So you can risk with 0.1 Bitcoin or even 0.01 Bitcoin, as long as it's not for you, it's for someone along the way.
100%. Again, Bitcoin has proved to be a legit option.
Yeah.
It's been proven. I mean, it's been around for going on 15, 17 years now. But I think the future is going to look like this crypto environment. This is a big experiment still.
Yes.
And it's such an important experiment, so it's going to take longer than maybe most experiments.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those that you can consider Again,
Like
car is a
about
bad
guarantees.
investment, right?
Yeah.
Real estate is an okay investment. It's actually
Yeah.
pretty, depending on the market. But crypto is also an option, at least to
Yeah.
diversify.
Plus, life is a risk. So when
Right,
as
right.
you risk, just know that ish happens.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, so you lived in America for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Now you're back. Are you
I'm
back
back.
permanently, or you back
Yes.
and forth?
I'm back permanently. It's not gonna be permanent if I'm gonna travel sometimes for
Yeah.
business maybe.
Mm.
But my family and I have decided that we're gonna make this a home. It's been
Yeah.
a long time coming, you know.
Okay.
I went there when I was very young. I was a teenager,
Mm.
and the goal was that one day I'm going to come back. So
Yeah.
I did not go there for economic reasons, like maybe most people immigrate.
Yeah.
So there was always that yearning of I'm going to learn as much as I can, and then in my head I've always found a way to translate anything that I learned that was of importance.
Yes.
And I said, like, okay, can I be able to use this in Kenya? So I've been in the software industry with that kind of disposition
Yes.
of I'm going to kind of take this. So I work with small and medium businesses to give them like some kind of automation, and we have a CRM product that I think is head and shoulders above anything in this market.
Yeah.
We also are very involved in consulting with these businesses to help them. I see a business that's been around for 15 years and all this. I'm like, some of these problems you're trying to solve now were solved 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe I can be able to leapfrog you and jump you ahead. That plus education, teaching people things. Like right now we have a program for real estate agents. There's nothing like it in the city.
Okay.
To teach them on how to sell, on how to position, on how to handle objections. And at the same time, once they learn, they go through that course, they also get into a membership kind of group where we actually help them get leads. So we run ads on their behalf, we collect resources, and we kind of pull it together, and so weekly they're getting leads, and we are doing it in a way, we have a mobile app for them. So we're not in the middle trying to curate and slice things.
Yeah.
It's just that, okay, this is going to you. It's all fair. And we are going to have it as a limited membership kind of thing. Things like those basically are the reason I came back, right?
Okay.
Enable other people to be able to feed their families, reach their potential. There's just the biggest resource in Kenya is actually the
human.
education base,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
human resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
These Gen Zs, I hire Gen Zs. If you're Gen Z out there and you're looking for something challenging and technical, and you want to help people in the business world, call me, right? Maybe you can give you my information to share with them.
Yeah.
I just want to
But
enable.
they shouldn't call you if it's. I always say there are people who are looking for a pity party.
Yes, there's a lot of that.
They're like, oh, my
Right.
grandmother's back aches. I need to be the first.
no.
Like everyone is going through some ish.
Right.
So never introduce yourself through your problems. Introduce yourself
Whoa.
through the solutions you're bringing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we're not really kind of doing that. We are trying to solve problems. Kenya has so much potential, and we are the ones we've been waiting for, right?
Yeah.
We're the ones working to solve. Nobody's coming to save us,
Yeah.
right? So I came here, everybody was telling me, like, everybody's going out. How come you're coming the other way? It's like, but it's home, right? And I see potential everywhere. These agents I'm talking about, I've been in real estate, and I came here about 9-10 months ago.
Yeah.
I've been basically interfacing and working with different categories of this business. And people are so ready to do things in a futuristic way. We are open-minded kind of society, and we are people are BD.
Yeah.
And those are the people that actually make me wake up every day just feeling excited. So, but that's really what I do. I spent a lot of time in America. I started as an electrical engineer. I went to the University of Houston,
Yeah.
where I have my bachelor's in electrical engineering. I went to Rice for my master's, where I did electrical engineering and computer science.
Rice? Which one is that?
Rice University is
Okay.
it's an Ivy League kind of a school in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
It's a private research institution, old school.
Yeah.
So I did my school there. I also got an MBA there. I moved to Seattle much later, and I wasn't before. I'm jumping ahead here.
Yeah.
I worked at Texas Instruments, basically making chips that go into phones, TVs.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about that. It's a craft of engineering and artistry.
That was still in Texas.
That's in Texas, yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, that's in Texas. I actually started working at Texas Instruments before I finished my college.
Okay.
And after that, Texas, most jobs there were more in the energy and gas industry. But also there's an electronic base, or at least a technology base. I also did have a marketing agency way back, and it became quite successful. And that is where I learned most of the stuff that I'm doing here today. Just being able to be make the software for marketing and also do marketing. So I bring a kind of high level of expertise in all these kind of technical fields. So I can help somebody implement and also go in the back end and actually create systems that are going to be resilient. And it's really my passion right now to get every business to take their potential from here to way up there, right? And these are people who are going to hire more employees when they're successful. And that's how you lift up the economy, right? And the few people that I've partnered with here in Kenya, and I want to say thank you to all of you if you're out there, have been just amazing, right? And we are not going to stop. So me and my wife are doing this. She's more the enablement person who teaches and coaches.
Yes.
I am more the technical person, but we can be able to overlap in what we are doing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be back home, by the way. It's just, I feel like a teenager again, because the last time I was in Nairobi, I was that young.
Yeah.
But I am also very much aware that we are right in the future. We got the AI revolution, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And AI is scary to a lot of people, but it's going to be an answer to a lot of people as well. I think it's going to double people's potential, triple people's potential. And with the kind of young demographic that Kenya has, I want to play a role in taking the fear away and bring the application right in. So we can actually, usually in technology, we are like 20 years behind in Africa in general.
Yes.
We want to leapfrog and be maybe like a year, maybe a year and a half behind. Then we are really competing at a world-class level. I would like to partner with anybody, the public sector, the private sector, people of connections and means who are really kind of want to create impactful change. That's really kind of why I'm here. I listen to your podcast, and I've been listening for years, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, that's the
other podcast.
The other podcast, the Econini.
Yeah.
But Mwafreeka, you just have such impact. I learned about Kenya from you, right? In preparing to come here, I used to watch you every day to see what's happening, the politics and what the going ons. So I'm really appreciative for that as well. I partner with you because I feel you're also having that impact.
Yeah.
I gravitate towards the impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So so right now, which projects are you working on? Because I know there's the real estate one.
Yes.
So you work with real estate companies, yes?
I work with real developers. I also work with agents. Both of them. The idea is they're building these structures, very much investment vehicles for a lot of people. So right now we're basically doing the matchmaking. We help them with their marketing needs. We can be able to run advertisements for them in Maju in the United States, and give them the software to be able to receive and follow up and actually sell these properties.
Okay.
So we're doing it for local audiences as well. So we real estate. So we're more of technology enablers. We give them the CRM. We give them the growth suite to grow their businesses. Grow their pipeline. So the customers that they need to sell to. So we are doing that, but we are also starting that with teaching them how to sell. Right? A lot of people got into sales by osmosis, just by getting in. But that foundation is really kind of important. So we have a course where somebody can be able to join in as a, maybe you want to enter into the industry, especially women who are more kind of not, they don't get the mentorship to kind of get in the numbers men do.
Yeah.
But again, men as well.
Yes.
If you want to enter, you can come and go through that training. The training is about 4 to 6 weeks. You get really kind of mentored on how sales work, the psychology of sales, how do you position, how do you build value. My wife does a lot of that. But once we do that, we also give you something called demand generation.
Okay.
So we are doing advertisements, and we are giving you leads every week so that you have actually work to do. And we are doing it in a very fair way, as I said. We have the technology to make it very seamless and almost instant. So that's really what I'm doing. We also have software for small businesses, you know. I was actually showing you this. So like this NFC cards, we are able to program them so that if you have a small retail shop, if you have a small business that has reviews on Google, and you want them to people to find you easily, we can program this, and then you can actually put it near the phone like this, and then what it does, it takes the customer straight to the review. So you should be able to ask for reviews, and reviews are the most important things. The cheapest way to kind of do marketing is called trust marketing. People say things about you using reviews, and you can be able to project this to other people. So you don't have to kind of say, "Oh, I'm good." Another customer says that. It's a very powerful kind of marketing force, and we're helping a lot of businesses do that. And that is on our division called DBX Reviews.
Okay.
And it's on dbxreviews.com. If you go there, you should be able to kind of see why reviews are important. So there's an education element, again, of what we do, and an implementation element. But everybody who comes our way, we want to change completely that customer acquisition aspect of their business.
Because this is, I always find it to be interesting, because now if I have the card, yes, and the card is Ekonene,
yes.
So now let's say Rapture has just done his stand-up, and we want the reviews on the website. So all I need to do is, instead of telling someone www, is just if they have NFC, start their phone.
You put on near the phone. It's almost like a QR code, but an electronic QR code. It just throws that URL out, and somebody's able to go straight there and probably give you a good review, because in the moment they're very satisfied. After the event, they feel like, I've been laughing all night.
So before you go home, one happy to
But so you can also put
really interesting.
Yes, you can put any URL here. You can put your Instagram. So it could also be your link tree, which is another way of kind of, it's a digital business card of sorts. You can be able to use that for all that. But for reviews, we feel for small businesses, that's what's lacking. I have seen businesses that have been around for 17 years. And how many reviews do they have? 17, right? So one review a year. You should be able to have at least dozens a week if you have a lot of traffic. And once you have more reviews, what Google does, it ranks you higher. If somebody searches, a pharmacy near me, the one that shows up at the top is the one with the most reviews. And there's other services, software services that we offer around that, like being able to reply to these reviews. We have ways to help you with the replies, which also makes it more visible. So it's really about connecting the product and the customer is looking for it. That's kind of what we solve for.
And which business opportunities are you seeing in Africa, not just around your companies, but just in general, like things you feel like in technology, this is coming to Africa, and by the time that it comes, there's AI, of course. Apart from AI, have you seen anything that you feel?
Yes, it's just the usual suspects, right? You kind of, when you travel or when you live outside, what you kind of stand is you have your eyes peeled for opportunities, because you know how things are done elsewhere, and here you see the gap clearly. And there are people also who are smart and who are able to figure it out on their own. One of the industries that I'm very interested in right now is something like solar. Like, how can you not have solar or sell solar in all this sun?
The land of the sun.
The land of the sun, the city under the sun. So I feel like that is a big opportunity. Even with the blackout issue we have, that's literally kryptonite
Yeah.
for solving for that, right? So solar, I feel like it's a big opportunity. In fact, I like to call it the blackout industry, right? Right? People just losing power, people losing their economic engine for an hour to sometimes 6 hours a day. Sometimes it's a nationwide kind of blackout. So I feel like that is a low-hanging opportunity for somebody to say, hey, I can sell these backup systems, I can sell solar, I can install it, I can make a case for somebody who's bought a home that is outside the city, away from the grid. Instead of doing that grid extension, go energy independent, right? Have that energy independence. I feel like that's a big one. Other opportunities also have to do with enablement. Just anything you can teach,
Yes.
you should be able to teach more people,
Okay.
right? If you have been, let's say, selling insurance for the last 30 years, you become now a veteran in that space,
Yeah.
right? You have all this knowledge. You're like a library, a walking library, but you're just stuck with that information. I feel like that is where it's going. And with AI, speaking of AI, as it's coming in, the biggest gap is going to be knowledge gap.
Yeah.
It's here. It's right in front of me. I don't know how to do with it, what to do with it. I have ChatGPT, but I don't know really the applications. You're just using it as Google. When there's more you can be able to do, you can do calculations with it. You can be able to solve problems.
Yeah.
And nowadays, actually, people are using AI. Once you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you all that gibberish about what's wrong with you, you can actually put it on ChatGPT and get a very good breakdown of what it means and what you should do. So the big gap is knowledge. So if you can be able to teach something, you should be able to teach. We actually have some software around that as well. Basically a way you can be able to make your course, invite students in and teach them. So to me, I feel like that's the widest. Everything you know, you should be able to teach, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you can be able to scale your knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the big opportunity. So solar, as far as technology, and teaching, as far as raising the whole population.
Okay. Okay. And but now back to the politics, yes,
Right.
of the country.
Right.
And by the politics, I mean the whole environment.
Right.
How has it been adjusting back to Kenya? Because I know the problem with maybe living in a first world country for too long is you're used to things working.
Yes.
Then you come back to a third world country where I normally joke that, and even saw a video like this about South Africa. So South Africa, there was this guy who'd gone to the police station and he's asking for help, and the cops are just there having, they're just ignoring him.
Right.
And then he's like, I'm going to record you. And they're like, well, you're going now to arrest you. They're not doing anything.
Right.
So how has that been, like adjusting back to the mediocrity? Because there's a lot of mediocrity
True.
back home,
It's true.
Kenya.
It's definitely, you expect it in your head, because again, I was born in Kenya, so I understand how things are. Maybe I did not become an adult in Kenya.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit of a shock. And you expect things to be slower, but not slowest,
Yeah.
right? It took me a while to get my ID. It took me a while. I had to make several trips to that place. There were other things that maybe were not clear to me at first, but yes, the speed of things can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But not everywhere, right? Like if I go to my favorite restaurant, I have a restaurant in Kilimani that I like going to called Mabruk. The service is great.
Okay.
The food also is what I've been hoping to kind of like find. Good Swahili food, sometimes good traditional ugali and all this. The service is great. But process-wise, especially government processes, registering a business, which I went through, I'm still struggling with a bunch of things that maybe this was a little mistake here. And, you want to kind of play by the rules of the country, trying to kind of set up a business in a right way. And I teach other people to do things the right way, to lessen the risk down the line. But it's just so difficult sometimes, I have to go into this government office. I'm not going to say the specific ones, but just really sit there, spend a whole afternoon and sometimes it's small talk. Sometimes it's like, oh, there's only one person that can be able to do a certain thing. But there, Omenda Ocha, there's an event.
But unampatia fair.
Yes.
Unampatia fair kuja.
Right. So that has been frustrating for sure. But there's always ways around it. There's always kind of more planning, I guess, getting ahead of things. I try to be on time for these things so that, I don't contribute to the problem as well.
Okay.
But there's also ways. I try not to try to bribe and do any of these things. It's just, I feel like I don't want to be
part of the problem.
Part of that problem, right? Sometimes I do have money. I would buy you lunch just because you're hungry, but I'm not going to buy you lunch because you are helping me with a signature somewhere, all of that. But again, it really kind of, that's a whole other episode. But yes, it's been frustrating, but I am coping.
Okay. And as we finish up, I want to take you to Uganda. So there's this interesting story I saw about Uganda. So they're saying that Besigye and Museveni started fighting because of women. So allegedly, at some point, Besigye dated Museveni's wife.
Wow.
And then at some point, Museveni dated Besigye's wife. So Besigye's wife was interviewed, and she said it was a normal relationship with President Museveni. It had some challenges, and I left it, but it's not relevant to the political discussion.
Some challenges is funny.
Yes. So when she said that, Museveni's son replied and said, there was nothing normal about your relationship with my father. You found a happy home and tried to wreck it. You're a disaster of a woman. You didn't leave. Mzee kicked you out of the house in December of 1986, dragged you to the car while you were crying. Yes, while you were crying, and sent you to your parents.
Wow.
So this is interesting. So what do you think about this? We're talking about stuff that happened in 1986.
1986.
Close to 40 years ago.
And hashtag this, bad grandpa. These are grandpas just talking about Tinder stuff, right? That's so funny. So these old folks have been in the same circles for 40-something years, maybe 40 years, close to 40 years. And 86, I'm sure they were younger, but I don't expect them to be playing those games today. That's on Twitter.
This was on Twitter,
They are, ladies and gentlemen, they are on Twitter fighting over grandmas. Wow, that is interesting. And Museveni has been around for a long time as president.
He's been president since 1986, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been president since 1986. So I guess that's the time, like when he came from the bush. He told her he had no need for her bush. Because I'm assuming in 1986 we were keeping it bushy.
Right. That's very apt. But look, it's. I think Twitter now, because you run out of topics, you basically go back to 86 to to pick up content. I read briefly about it. I was just kind of scanning it, and I was like, okay, and it's like, I thought it was like a younger woman, maybe it was an issue. No, this is a real.
It's two old. It's two grannies.
Yes, two grannies just going for it. I mean, that's just crazy. But look. This, I think, is just fodder for slow news days. I think whatever they have in terms of a conflict, it's probably alluding to something else, right?
Yes.
If these things happen in 86, I mean, 86 is before we probably came about. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, 86 was,
it's just funny. It's interesting. And again, these are not the actual guys going after each other. It's more families.
Yeah, it was
the son to Museveni, you said?
Yes, the son to Museveni and the would-be stepmom.
There would be stepmom.
Yeah. So Museveni became president on 29th of January 1986.
Right.
Yes? So the 29th of January, he was the acting president
Right.
between 26th to 29th of January 1986. These people are not serious. Acting president, of course he was the president.
Was
so
the president.
he was the president since then, and then she was kicked out in December.
Right.
So I guess maybe they had their affair for the few months. And but it's interesting seeing that these are the conversations we are having in Africa
Yeah.
about a country that like Uganda, which needs more than who the president is sleeping with. So
Literally, and even the imagination of Museveni and his love life is not exactly a picture
yeah,
you want to
yeah.
hold in your head.
Mm.
But again, you know, for some, when we go low, I guess when they go low, we go lower.
Yeah.
You know, that's just crazy. But I hope they resolve it.
Yeah.
You know, it's an old issue.
Yeah, it's yeah, because I'm trying to see the son had been born already. He was born in 1974. So yeah, I guess he's within his rights to say that she wanted to destroy.
Yeah, but don't bring it up 40 years later. I think you should resolve that in the early 90s. That's the deadline.
Right.
Right.
So now the son
Right.
is supposed to be the next president.
Oh, that Museveni's son?
Yes, Museveni's son.
Oh, I see.
But now, this is just a quick trivia. Where was Museveni's son born? Like, in which country was he born?
Oh, interesting.
He's
I'll
supposed to
have
be
to
the
guess.
next. He's supposed to be the next Uganda president.
But he was born. Give me a hint. Was he born in
was he
Uganda
born?
or not?
That's why I'm asking you. I just want you to make a wild guess. Having lived in the US for 25 years, you know where you're born, how important that is.
Yes.
Like, for example, Obama, they were saying
Right.
Obama was born in Kenya.
In Kenya.
So that we disqualify Obama.
Disqualifies you from
Yes.
being president. But again, if you have to follow those kind of rules, do you think Museveni is following the rule by being the president since 86?
Yeah, because allegedly he was born in Rwanda. But now, what about the son? Where? Just make a wild guess.
Kenya?
Tanzania.
Okay.
It's interesting. Like, he was born in Tanzania. He was born in Dar es Salaam.
Mm.
So this, I think they need to look for a loophole and just disqualify him. Because, you know, they're trying to turn that country into a kingdom. You know, like
yes.
the Buganda kingdom.
Right. Oh, is that a thing, or you just...
No, I'm just saying, like, the way when if the son is inheriting from the dad.
Definitely. Again, that's the old trope of the African leader or African dictator who basically wants to keep that. It's a North Korea kind of situation as well.
Yeah.
You know, but I hope we move away. I think as Africa, I hope we move away from these old ways of what, like one guy since 1986. How many great minds have come and gone?
Yes.
That could have really kind of changed that country. Like this one guy with his ideas and all of this. I'm not big on that. Even what's happening in Kenya, I wish that we could. We're just we are just losing time. It's not even the money.
Yes.
Right? So Uganda's potential, I was actually looking at some statistics on solar the other day as I was looking into it. Uganda has electricity penetration of 29%, right?
Okay, 29, yeah.
29%.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure if somebody were...
And what's the penetration in Kenya?
In Kenya, I think I saw it at 85%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess they're not counting the blackouts. If you count the blackouts, it's probably going to be 40%. Yeah.
I'd want to know how much is in Kenya, because, but Uganda, of course, it's one of those things where...
Like, that's where they should be putting that energy. All this energy about, again... Even in Kenya, we have had a father and son become president. Yeah. And they can be able to be president in some kind of merit, but not just because. Right? I think that's the future I would like to see for Africa, for Kenya.
Okay, so they're saying by 2022, 76% of Kenya's population had access to electricity. And this was a significant increase from 2013, when only 27% had. Yeah, so I guess electricity was Uhuru's legacy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I don't know that it's a big change.
Yeah, that's a big change.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm thinking like Museveni, of course. You just know. Like he runs the country like it's a
homestead.
Yeah, like a homestead.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it reminds me of I saw a certain image that came out from Rwanda, and it was the image. It was during the John Legend concert. So John Legend this past weekend,
Right.
he was in Rwanda, and at some point, Kagame showed up, and Kagame said hi, and you know everyone was so happy and clapping and everything. And I remember commenting, and I was like, yeah, makes sense. You live in a dictatorship. You have to clap for the president. And people took offense with that. But you know, it's the reality. Like, Kagame can be a good person, but Rwanda is still a dictatorship.
Yeah, it is.
So those two things can be
true at the same time.
true at the same time.
Right.
Yes, because people
Right.
feel like everything has to be like one dimensional.
Yeah,
So
right.
like everyone was there.
But when you really talk about the social media, especially, everything is just like there's always somebody either trying to be funny or trying to kind of shut you down with their big point, or just basically it's a ping pong game, as they call it, table tennis, right? You just kind of react and just shoot back. But yes, I mean it's I would think the same way as well. Like okay. You go to North Korea, you see the same thing.
They're happy to see. So with Kenya, if Ruto shows up, we'll boo him.
Right.
And we'll boo him because we have the freedom to boo him.
Yes.
You see, Rwanda, they don't have that freedom. I've talked to some Rwandese, and not every Rwandese is happy to live in a like that. Is it a heightened state of fear where you're always afraid? What if I say the wrong thing and then I'll be grabbed? Or if I do this, or if I do this? So, but is he doing some great stuff? Yes, there are things he's doing. Like that arena that they have for performances, we don't have one in Kenya. The whole basketball thing that he's also trying to do on that side. So there are things that he's doing that are better than Kenya.
There's always going to be those.
Yeah.
But I think in general, and I don't profess that, the more freedom, there's always going to be constraints. But the freer the people are to basically live to their potential, right? I think a leader should be able to come for a certain period, whatever the constitution kind of is, to create a platform where everybody can play and plug into.
Yes.
And that's the economy.
Yeah.
But a guy coming in and just saying that I'm the only one who can be able to fix all problems and basically be imposing, I feel like that's really kind of the undoing. Where we're going right now, Africa, we just have big advantages.
Yes.
Our demographics, young population, educated, right? People who are ambitious and willing to really go there. But the economies are not giving them the wings that they need to be able to soar. So that's really what we should be thinking about. The Musevenis of the world, no offense for those who like Museveni.
Yeah.
And the other characters around the continent. This should be the old way. Right now, we should not even be thinking about the colonial stuff. I think we should really kind of learn from those lessons and now do the next thing, right?
I think with Museveni is not cool to like. Kagame is cool to like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's also PR, right? If you have a better PR kind of outfit, then you're going to always look cool. But zoom out, the guy has been there for quite a bit, right? He's also oppressing the opposition or whoever is opposing him and playing the games of I'm going to stay in power.
Yeah.
To me, that is...
like, it's so sad that I'll never visit Rwanda personally because I've criticized Kagame, so I'm always afraid because, there was this story about Kagame and like one of his loyal lieutenants, the one that they started fighting. And when they started fighting, this guy escaped and went to South Africa. And Kagame sent people after him. And he was just unalived in South Africa. You see, so this is someone who does not mess around.
Yeah.
So for people to, that glorify him, because I think even what I had a sort of issue with was people trying to put Kagame like he's better than the Kenyan president. No, he's not. It's just that in Kenya you can talk.
Right.
If the Rwandese could talk, I'm sure they'd be like, it would just be a scream and then they keep quiet. So,
but the interesting thing as well, you know what? It's the most just thing about us as humans is somebody say this, and I don't want to take his idea. Is like death is actually a great invention. I think God put it in place as a way for renewal. If you look at our presidents, we've Moi is gone. Like, I can't believe I grew up in the Moi.
Thinking is immortal.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a thing. I hope the next generation just says no more of this, right? Sending somebody to go kill somebody's father, somebody's son, because of this power play, to me feels very archaic.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. And I think when you talked about death, I think on episode 2 I started with a philosophical quote. So maybe let's end with that. There's this philosopher, like he's one of my most, like he's one of those interesting philosophers. I find him to be super interesting.
Right.
So he's called Epicurus. So Epicurus died in 270 BC, before Christ, yes?
Right.
And he had this quote that fear not death, because when you're here, it's not. And when it's here, you're not. So do not concern yourself with what exists only when you don't. So what do you think about that?
It's very deep. I mean, some of these philosophers of the Greek era were pretty wise. That's a deep one, but it really kind of speaks to death being something that you have to accept, something we share, right? It's as real as life itself, right? If there's life, there has to be death.
Yeah.
And it's actually an equalizer as well. So to truly not make it central to your fears, right? It's just the reality of it. Sometimes you get it earlier, sometimes you get it later, and it's just a reality for all.
Yeah.
I think it's as profound and something that you can be able to listen to today. We're like, yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And now maybe my question to you would be, do you believe there is life after death?
I was raised a Christian, but over time I have thought of really believing in God because I really believe we came from somewhere. Somebody.
The Garden of Eden?
Not the Garden of Eden, because the timeline for that is like 6,000 years ago. It's Garden of Eden. The timeline doesn't add up.
Yeah.
I'm more about there's a higher power out there.
Yeah.
Maybe not the version or the versions that we have. I think there's a God out there. I think there's a higher power out there, but not in the persuasion of the branding, right? So me, I'm from the Kisii area. Yeah. So most of us are Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah.
But then my dad also is Catholic. So there was always this thing. And even when I was young, I used to have these thoughts like, okay, I go to an SDA church. The pastor says, oh, the Catholics are the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Used to be that thing going around. And I'm like, no, my dad is pretty cool, right? I don't think he's part of the Antichrist movement. So me, I had those thoughts.
Yeah.
But I've also gone kind of through college and kind of learned about this. So for me, religion is very personal. And I think it's also, you could be religious without being in a religion. So that's kind of my high level take on it.
Yeah. So life after death, because you've not given me a definitive answer.
Oh, life after death.
Do you think you'll be up there looking down, or you'd be down there looking up? Like, what do you think happens?
I would want to believe that there's a spirit to us that doesn't quite get extinguished. But the idea of heaven, again, just like religion,
yes,
if it's there, it's not the version we know.
Okay. Because milk and honey is pretty boring too.
Yes, milk and honey. Maziwa mala and honey.
That's because I always feel like life after death would be too harsh. The way I look at it, I feel like life on earth is so sweet that even with its struggles and its just being alive, just experiencing this, I feel like it's so good that I don't want to be out there seeing all of you enjoying, but I'm out there in a better place. Which better place is? No, let me just be here and enjoy.
Let me add to this.
Yeah.
And there's alternative thoughts as well, which I find interesting, like Hindu brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
or the Buddhists, brothers and sisters, who think of reincarnation as part of that equation.
Yeah.
That you're going to come back as a different form, maybe even a different...
as a mosquito. The first day someone opens the door.
Like, I just got here and you got doomed.
So I'm doomed.
Right. Yes. But, you know, those, and I've always been keen at also listening to other religions. I think a lot of my friends in America are Muslim, and I try to also hear and learn. And of course, Kenya, we are kind of a multi-cultural kind of society. I've had Muslim friends from school, and there's also a very strong case there. I think like the Islam religion is so beautiful in the way it kind of sees our life here and the thereafter as well.
Yeah.
Just as religion in Christianity is, also Christianity also was a kind of colonial tool. There was indoctrination that kind of was used to get the masses not to revolt and other reasons. Again, I'm a zoom out kind of person. I try to simplify things, even the idea of religion. I want it to be as simple as possible, so that I don't have too many bombs that I have to contend with. When really, I think God, in his essence, is the smartest being.
Yeah.
So he had to truly mean life to be simpler than maybe what we take it to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess we'll finish on that profound note.
Thank you.